What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning back in. So this is part two of the smoky eye video. If you haven't taken a look at that video, please make sure to take a look at that video. So this video is all about how to do your foundation. So if you need help with that, you have questions, or that's an area that you struggle with, whether you're doing makeup on yourself or you're doing makeup on other people, this is the video for you. So stay tuned. There goes a sight from my soul. All right, so part two of this video is going to be all about foundation. So I can't stress this enough. No matter what you do on your lips, no matter what you do on your eyes, no matter how heavy or wrong your brows might be, if your foundation is off, it is going to be the thing that people notice. I've said this time and time and time again, and it is just always um, a really tricky conversation when you see someone whose foundation color is maybe too light or too dark, or the undertone is wrong, or the foundation is put on really heavy, or the foundation isn't put on enough in areas that might need a little bit more coverage. So I'm going to stress this in all of my videos. There are no set rules to makeup. This is an accessory to fashion. Do what you feel makes you feel confident in yourself. There are no set rules to me other than maybe like color theory. Um, and I feel like foundation kind of falls into there. But there are some instances in culture where people have beliefs about lighter skin. There are some um, people who prefer to look warmer or deeper. So again, it is all personal preference. I'm not here to judge anybody or the way that you do makeup, but from a professional aspect and what I have been hired to do, it's to match skin as much as possible. So foundation can be a really interesting area of conversation. It could be a really deep conversation. So I'm gonna try to keep this as short and simple as possible. You have to understand your undertone, you have to understand your skin tone, and you have to understand the type of finish that you want in your foundation. So I'm not gonna make this a foundation video. That will be something specific. But if you already brought a foundation, you already know your skin tone. You already know that the foundation that you have is the right undertone. This would be the video for you because now you're ready to start wearing it to start going out. So sheer coverage would mean that the foundation is very sheer. It's not covering blemishes. This may be for someone who feels like they have the more ideal skin and they aren't trying to hide anything. They're just trying to even out the color. Medium coverage foundation would be something that's going to have a little bit more weight to it, a little bit more coverage, right? So you may have some imperfections in the skin, discoloration that you're trying to cover up. Medium can be warped down to being sheer, right? So if it's a little bit thicker, if you dilute it with a moisturizer or you blend it out really, really well, it can go from medium in areas that you need it to sheerer in areas where you don't need full coverage. Or any type of coverage for that matter. Full coverage would be when I think of full coverage, I think of what I'm doing for photo shoots, right? I need the skin as perfect as possible so that way if I'm working with a photographer, they don't have to retouch as much. If I'm doing my own photography, I don't have to retouch as much. When I think about full coverage, I'm thinking about brides, I'm thinking about stage, I'm thinking about maybe TV. But full coverage for TV is a little bit different. But full coverage does not mean cakey. So I just want to put that out there. Full coverage does not mean cakey. Full coverage is a foundation that can cover hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation. Full coverage can color discoloration from a scar. It is not going to cover a scar because a scar is texture or indentation in the skin. Full coverage can cover a tattoo. Full coverage can cover freckles. So when you think of full coverage, when you hear that term, please do not associate that with cakey makeup because that is not the case. It just means that the foundation is a lot more pigmented and can cover coloration on the skin, not so much texture. No matter what you do, if you have a pimple, if you have some people may have keloids, like if they've been cut or something like that, razor bumps, things of that nature. I'm just going to make sure I reiterate this. Full coverage will not take care of that. That is something lifting out of the skin. That is not discoloration in the skin, where the foundation will come in and even that out to make everything one color. So let's get into it. So, one of the most important parts about doing foundation is a good base. I try my hardest to make sure that every person that I work with, we go through this process of just cleaning the skin. This is just a makeup remover, or you can use a cleanser with a cotton pad, like I'm doing, just to get anything off of the skin, debris, dead skin cells, leftover makeup, things that you may not see. I want the canvas to be really fresh. So, always, always, always start off with really clean skin, and skin prep is really important. So I'm using an eye cream just because I felt like the under eye area was a little bit drier. Now you can use a moisturizer. I just like the consistency of the eye cream that I use. It is by Kiehl's, and I think it has like an avocado extract in it. Used it for quite some time, and I just really like the way products go over it without uh, slipping up or shifting or getting really oily. So I'm just kind of stippling this in with my ring finger, following her orbital bone, taking it out a little bit on the cheekbone, and just making sure that the entire area is hydrated. So after I clean the skin, after I do eye cream, I'm applying moisturizer. Normally, I apply moisturizer with my hand, but for the video sake, I couldn't stand in front of Naja and kind of massage the moisturizer in, which is what I typically like to do. So you can just use a stippling brush. And if you don't have a stippling brush, you can use your hands to apply your moisturizer. If you're doing makeup on yourself, you can definitely use your hands. As an artist, I can do hands or brush. It just really depends on the scenario and how comfortable my client is and how comfortable the model is with me touching their face. All right, so now we're going to get into some foundations. So this is the palette that I created. These are all black opal cream stick foundations. And I like holding the palette up next to the model so I can see the colors that are showing in her skin and where they show on my palette. So this is the oldest trick in the book. Take 3 swatches of foundations that you think you see in the person's skin and swatch them on the jawline. The good thing about doing this, because Naja doesn't have a shirt on up to her neck, I'm also matching this to her body. And this is the Makeup Forever Color Camouflage Palette. This is really good for color correcting. This is a trick that you can do to use less product around the eyes. A lot of us show discoloration in the under eye area. So I'm using the orange color to kind of color correct the darkness that I'm seeing under her eyes. So this way I won't have to use so much foundation or concealer in this area. And when I do put color there, I won't have a cast, right? So we're neutralizing the color and then we'll cover the darkness. So we're going to get rid of those swatches because I know the 2 colors from what I just did that I'm going to use. So the areas to pay attention to are like underneath the eye, the center of the face, the forehead, because people, some people honestly can have 3 or 4 colors in their skin. Naja has about 2 colors that I'm seeing in her skin. So I'm starting off with just a blend of the 2 colors together. Now, when I'm doing foundation, when I want coverage, I'm going to press, right? Pressing just kind of layers that foundation on. If you see me swiping crazy, I'm just blending it out because those areas don't really need the coverage. So when you want coverage, press the foundation into the skin. When you want sheerness, you still want the skin to be visible, you can just kind of blend it out. So in the areas where I'm seeing discoloration, where I'm seeing marks, I'm just kind of pressing it. With Naja's just on the side of her cheeks and a little bit in the forehead. Everywhere else, I can just keep really sheer. So the beautiful thing about doing half of the face, you can see that this foundation mix is really true to color of what she's showing on the other side. So this is a good rule of thumb if you're wearing a new foundation or trying to figure out your foundations or how much to mix and match. If you have 2 foundations, just kind of start on half of the face and compare it to the other side that doesn't have makeup on. So now that I know that that color is right, we're going to do it on the other side. Again, focusing on the areas that need the coverage and just pressing, just pressing, just pressing. And then where those edges get to skin that may not need coverage, I'm blending it out. The stippling brush is probably one of my favorite brushes to use when doing foundation when I'm not using a sponge because it's just pretty quick and easy. And I can get the coverage that I want from this. You can use a regular foundation brush. Some people can use their hands. It's really just up to preference. This is just something that I've always liked to do when I do foundation, other than sponges. And I'm loving the way that her skin looks. We don't have any powder on. This is just moisturizer, eye cream, and foundation. And she just really has this radiant, radiant glow. Lighting is really important when you're doing your makeup. So play around with where you do your makeup. Find the best lighting in your house because you may be matching really well for indoor lighting. And then when you go outside, the colors may be off. So don't be afraid to go to a window with the mirror and just kind of make sure you're not getting any cast. But Naja's skin is perfect. I really love the way that this foundation looks on her. And she's just gonna rotate the head so we can see there's no lines of demarcation. She has a really great glow. And if this isn't a glow that you want, you can, of course, go on with powders and set where needed, but we'll get to that in another part of the video. So now I'm going in with a little bit of that lighter shade foundation, using that foundation as a concealer. This is a concealer brush, so the bristles are synthetic, so it's perfect for creams. And I like to lay down my concealers with a brush or a sponge and then use my finger because of the heat to just kind of really warm up that foundation under the eye so this way it doesn't crease. And I really like using creams because the longer the creams sit on the skin, the more natural the makeup looks. And when you really take the time to work it into the skin, you just get a real skin like feeling. Now, I'm not saying that liquids can't do this, but liquids don't really have this texture feel to them. And powders just go on a little bit more matte. So they don't really keep the skin vibrant. So whereas creams, as you can see here, they just really keep the skin kind of vibrant and fresh and alive. So I really, really love using cream foundations. And that's just a little bit of that lighter color. Blend it in with my finger, but apply it with the brush. And Naja just looks really, really good. It's hard to not enhance what she already has going on. Now, after you do your foundation and you do your concealer, you definitely want to set. I haven't done Naja's highlights and contour, so I'm going to show you guys how I set her foundation in that video as well. But that looks really, really good. All right, so that is pretty much how I like to approach foundations. I hope that this was helpful to a lot of you guys, and I hope that you guys are kind of pulling back from that fear of wearing foundation and understand how to pick foundation and make your skin look really, really good in the process. But this isn't over. There's a part 3 of this video. We're going to talk about brows, so make sure you click the link. And if you haven't done so, please make sure you subscribe. But click the link. We're not done yet.